Okay.
I need something more.
Go fast. Keep swimming.
Welcome, Christine.
Thank you
so much for being here. Okay, first thing I'm going to ask you today is to introduce yourself to people because they don't know you. So just anything that comes to your mind and that you think we should know about you.
Awesome. Well, hey guys, so my name is Christine. I'm 28 years old. I live in Manly. So I'm a swimmer, love all things swimming. Been swimming most of my life. I was a pool swimmer when I was growing up. So I was actually a breaststroker. So 100-meter breaststroke was my main event. But I got into open water swimming just a few years ago when I moved to Manly, and the ocean was always a really special place that we went to for family holidays. So when I got the opportunity to live here, I thought, well, may as well go and spend as much time in it as possible. So it was actually during COVID that I started doing laps of Manly Beach, and just really enjoyed the endurance aspect of it.
Enjoyed it so much that you long distance now.
And that's where it started, and it's just taken off from there. So
nice.
Yeah.
So that's how you got into long distance swimming?
Yep, that's it.
What do you love about it?
I think the number one thing is probably the community. So it's just an incredible bunch of people, and particularly here in Sydney, like we've got, you know, all these people that have just done these incredible swims, whether it's like the English Channel or the Triple Crown swims, and they're just so inspiring and so motivating to be around. So that's the number one thing. I also think just, you know, being out in nature, and I guess for better or worse, you know, you get the full exposure to the elements.
Yeah,
see some beautiful marine life, get to, you know, be up at sunrise in the water. So it's just a great lifestyle, and makes you feel healthy and strong.
Nice. Okay, so how many hours a week do you usually train to be like an endurance swimmer?
It varies a little bit, but the program at the moment is 4 squad sessions a week. So each morning that's 90 minutes in the pool, and then on a Saturday we do a longer distance swim.
Which is about?
Yeah, usually about 10 Ks on a Saturday. But it varies throughout the year depending on what our program is, what we're training for. I think the longest Saturday swim I've done was 15K.
15K, that's insane. How many hours does that take?
15, like 4 to 5.
Oh my god, 4 to 5 hours in the ocean, guys. Can you imagine that? And I'm here trying to just build up towards a half Ironman, which is 1.9. Okay.
But that's awesome too. Like, I mean, you know, any kind of swimming is amazing.
It is amazing. Honestly, you should do a triathlon. You would feel so strong. You should be out of the water like before like everyone else.
I admire triathletes because I cannot do anything with my legs. Like, I like swimming because you just use your arms. You don't have to run.
So that's 90 minutes, like 4 times a week?
Yes.
And how do you split it, like to really build endurance? Would it be like mostly easy training and then like having one fast training a week, or how do you?
Yeah, so we have a bit of variety in the program. So I swim with Vlad Swim. So our coach is Vlad Maverick. So he breaks up the program to focus on different things each day. So Monday is more of an aerobic endurance session. So we're looking at doing about 5Ks, just at a nice cruisy controlled pace. We've got Technique Tuesday, which is always good fun.
Technique Tuesday. We should introduce that in our week too. I really need a Technique Tuesday.
Technique Tuesdays are good.
Oh my god, I bet.
And then that builds into Wednesdays, which is anaerobic threshold day, which is doing
the hard stuff.
Yeah, similar distance, like 4.5 to 5Ks, but really trying to, you know, do it fast, push the times there. Fridays or Thursdays rest day, and rest days are a very, very important part of the program too. Then Fridays are sprint days, so shorter distances, but, you know, trying to work on getting that fast twitch muscle happening. And then Saturdays for the long swim, so a bit of variety to break up the swim.
So you train mostly in pool?
At the moment, yeah.
Yeah, okay, cool. How many Ks do you reckon, or how many sessions do you reckon you should be doing a week to see progress?
I guess it kind of depends what your baseline is and what level you're trying to get to. I think it's probably not so much about the number of sessions, but about what you do in the sessions. So making sure that each time you swim, you're really focusing on your technique, making sure that you're swimming with an efficient stroke, and then I guess just focusing on the different parts of it, like whether you're, you know, trying to build your endurance or your cardio or your muscle strength. And I think it's probably quality over quantity, I'd say.
What is a good stroke technique? I think like triathletes like have no idea what is a good stroke. Like sometimes like, ooh, pretty solid pace, and then I look at my watch, I'm like, That must have been so bad from the outside. It felt strong, but no, it must not be.
No, not at all. I think, I guess you can break the stroke down into different bits. So the first part of the stroke, which is probably the most important, is what's called the catch. So the catch is when your hand's going into the water at the front. You sort of feel pressure or you feel tension on your fingertips, and you essentially use your catch to anchor your arm into the water. And once that's planted or anchored, you can then pull your body through from that particular position. So it really sets up your whole stroke. So I'd say that's probably the number one thing in terms of technique to try and get a good stroke happening. I'd say the second thing would be making sure that you're doing full strokes. So you're reaching as far forward as you possibly can. You're turning your shoulders to help you reach further forward. And then also turning your hips to make sure that you're really, getting that full reach forward. And then same at the back end of your stroke, making sure that you're not lifting your arm out early, because otherwise you miss all that chunk of water behind you, which you can...
Like you are cutting the glide short.
Yeah, exactly. So making sure you get those full strokes will really, I guess, make it a lot more efficient.
So wait, that means when you're taking your arms out, your hand out of the water, is it like at hip height?
Yeah,
basically?
Pretty much as far back as you can go,
okay.
I'd say. Yeah, because then it's a lot easier to get that extra push of water than to have to reach all the way over and have another whole stroke to
and then when you find your catch, do you have like cup hands? Like, is your hand active, or is it like...
Yeah, so they say like if you're holding an egg, so you have your fingers
I like the image. Hold an egg back.
Big egg or small egg?
A normal egg.
I'm going to remind this for the rest of my life every time I swim.
So you just got gentle, relaxed hands, because if you have them too tight, you're going to be using a lot of energy in your fingers. And then you're also more likely to like slap the water, which you don't want to do.
Okay.
So yeah, just relaxed hands. You can have them slightly separated because it'll kind of create a web as you put your hand through.
Okay.
So
nice.
Yeah.
Okay, and then finishing the stroke, hip rotation, you said.
Yep.
And how do you fit the breathing into this?
The breathing. So
I think the breathing is so like I don't know. I think it's the hardest part for someone that starts swimming is to breathe. Like, how do you fit that?
Yeah, it's a good question. I think for me, I breathe every 3 strokes, and that way you're getting the balance in your stroke, breathing to each side. And I guess that also makes sure that as you're training, you're working each side of your body as well. Few things on breathing is really just to try and relax it. You don't want to be, trying to hold your breath so much and then bursting it out of your lungs, because then that'll just give you a stitch. So just having, slow, controlled breathing every 3 strokes. I think you can even practice it just on dry land, just having that, that calm breathing, and just apply that when you're in the water.
So, and when you're blowing air out in the water, like you're not holding on like with full lungs and then just expiring out of the water. You start to blow out in the water.
Yeah.
And then finishing your breath out.
Yeah, so for me, I usually hold my breath for the first 2 strokes. And when you've got that in your lungs, that actually can help, help you get the posture in the water. And then as you turn your head on the 3rd stroke, you can then start releasing the air. So you're turning, you're blowing it out, and then that way when your head's out of the water, you only have to inhale because you've already done the exhale. So that can reduce the amount of time that your head's actually out of the water.
Okay.
And the reason that's important is because when your head's up, your legs tend to sink, and it throws your body off balance a bit. So you want to try and get that breath happening in a fairly quick way. You don't want to rush it, but you also, whatever you can do to try and minimize the time that your head's out of its neutral position is always good.
I love that. So when you are like not breathing, where are you gazing in the water? Like, are you gazing forward or down, or like what's your neck position?
So you want your neck relaxed. I think a lot of swimmers tend to really lock up their neck. And when your neck's locked up, that can really interfere with that shoulder rotation. Yeah. And it can also cause you to fatigue as well. So you want to just have your neck nice and relaxed in a fairly neutral position, staring pretty much straight down into the water. A lot of the time, if people look too far forward, which is really tempting to do in open water because you want to see what's in front of you and you want to see where things are.
Especially in an Ironman competition. Yeah. You want to be first. You have to watch forward.
You want to see what's there. But the problem with that is if your head goes up, your legs tend to go down, and then you'll be finding
slow.
Yeah, so you're dragging your body through the water on an angle, so it'll be harder work, and then you'll be having to work harder with your legs to counter that. So you're better off to put your head down, and it might look better when you eventually look up at the finish line. So
just follow the guest on the group.
Yeah.
Just don't watch, follow them. What is the actual the main tips to actually getting faster for you?
So I think when you're training, rather than thinking about trying to go faster, think about trying to swim well and focusing on your technique and thinking about power instead of speed. So when we say that, it's when you're swimming along, instead of spinning your arms around as fast as they can possibly go or kicking your legs in a six beat kick as fast as they go, just thinking about every stroke that you do, you want to maximise how much power you're actually pushing through the water. A great drill to practice that is you can do 6 power strokes, so where you're really trying to maximise the push that you're getting each time, and then 6 really relaxed strokes, and that way you can start to feel the difference in your body. You can also start to integrate that with 6 crazy sprint strokes as well, and just feel that the change in how your body's reacting and how much extra energy you're having to exert to try to do that sprint, as opposed to the power strokes. So yeah, I think the saying goes that you don't chase speed, you let it chase you.
Okay, your number one favorite drill, the one that changed your life. I need it. Give us the secret.
There's so many good ones. I think
maybe you're
am I allowed to have 2 or 3?
Yeah. We need 3. We need more than 1, to be honest.
I think I love catch-up freestyle, which is, I guess, a bit of a classic drill. So with catch-up freestyle, you're swimming, but each time your hands come in and they pretty much touch each other at the front. They don't necessarily have to touch, but sort of come in together.
Yeah.
And what that does is it really brings your whole stroke to the front, and make sure that you're really focusing on that catch. Each time your hand goes into the water, you're feeling that tension in your fingertips. You're getting that anchor ready to pull through. So that's called catch-up freestyle.
Okay.
That's a great one. Another one which I started doing for the first time with Vlad actually is what's called fist drill. So you swim with one.
Oh, you shared this
one
one with
normal.
me.
Yeah.
It actually helped me a lot.
It's good, isn't it? So you have one hand normal and you have one hand in a fist, and then you try and swim along like that, and you kind of get the feeling of throwing your arm forward as though you're swinging a punch in a way. But I think one of the main things that it works is that you're actually using your whole forearm as your paddle. So you actually then start to really notice how you engage your forearm to plant it in the water to then push back on. It's a lot of fun. You sort of feel like Superman as you're swimming along. But yeah, and then mix it up. So on the way back, you do the other hand, and then have a go at doing normal freestyle after that, and you really feel that difference in how important it is to feel your forearms in the water, but also to feel yourself throwing yourself forward as you swim.
Like a superhero.
Yeah, really. Superman drill.
Okay, another one.
Yeah, another drill.
Last one, maybe a last one. What about the legs? Because we talk a lot about the arms since we started, but how
legs. Well, it's interesting, I think, because so there's different beats in kicking. So a really fast kick or a sprint kick is what's called a 6-beat kick.
Okay.
And that's what you do when you're sprinting along. And if you're doing a 50-meter freestyle sprint, you'd be doing that. But as you start to do more distance, your kicking purpose actually changes. So rather than being about giving yourself momentum, it's more about stability in the water. So you're actually doing a 2-beat kick, or maybe a 4-beat if you want to go a bit faster. But really, you're just using those legs to counter that rotation. Some people naturally will have their hips up nice and high in the water, which is what you want. But if you're someone where your legs tend to sink or your hips tend to sink in the water, then kicking is a lot more important to get your body up nice and high.
So for 3.8 kilometers, guys, less legs, more upper body. I'm all honestly, I have no upper body strength right now. It's so bad. I'm really using my legs to actually move faster. Yeah. So I'm gonna try to do what you said, because my upper body strength is just so bad. It's so bad. For real. Well, speaking of strength, do you do cross training to build up strength in the upper body?
Yeah, I probably should do a bit more of the strength training.
The strength questions. No legs, no gym.
No, I think strength is really important, but probably mostly for injury prevention. Is probably the number one thing. I've started doing a little bit more of it as I'm moving into the English Channel training program.
Yes, Christine is training for the English Channel.
Woohoo! As of a week ago, so fresh news.
And what are you focusing on for that?
So it's 2 years away, so August 2026. So for the first 12 months is really going to be focusing on the cold. So the water temperature's over in the UK, obviously, not warm. So I'm going to be in there for a fair while. So the cold preparation is actually a really big part of it. So doing a lot of cold exposure work. A lot of that is actually the mental preparation. So, trying to just stay really calm when you start getting colds, you don't start going into that panic and, trying to enjoy being cold, I suppose. So that's the first 12 months combined with, I guess, the usual swimming fitness program. And then in 2025, I guess it'll be really stepping up the kilometres. So I've seen some of my teammates who have trained for the channel before and they do, sort of 5 to 8 hour swims some Saturdays, and I'm like, that's what's in store for me in like insane. 18 months time. So
8 hours for swim, it's really crazy. How do you fuel a session like that?
Yeah, I think nutrition is like the most important thing. Like once you know how to swim, in order to step up into that endurance swimming, I think the two biggest things that make the difference is the mental game and the psychology, and then the nutrition. So nutrition is huge. I think for me, I try to mix up the feeding, because if you have too much of the same thing, that can not sit as well in your stomach, but also you can get a bit of that palate fatigue as well. So I'll have a lot of energy gels. Like to have a rotation. So the first one is an energy gel. Then 30 minutes later, I'll have like a combination of ginger cordial with maltodextrin powder.
Yeah.
The ginger's actually really good for the seasickness. Like calms the stomach down. And then my third feed, I'll have like a fun feed, which flat Coke is really good. Sometimes I'll put warm water in it to stay nice and toasty.
Nice.
Delicacy. Or sometimes you want some solids in there too, so I might have like a little bit of banana bread or something like that, but it's mostly liquids. Things like Gatorade, Powerade, the sports drinks for the hydration, and electrolytes are really big as well. So I mix it up a fair bit, but it is a really important part of it, and I think the best advice I was given is just to keep feeding really regularly, because the feeds that you have in the first half of your event is what powers the second half. Yeah. So, for me, feeding every 30 minutes, it could be tempting when you first start your event to think, I've only been going for 30 minutes, so I don't really need to.
Yeah, 100%. I think this is how I feel right now.
Yeah, because you're just like, I've only just started, like I'm still fresh. Yeah. But it's so much easier to maintain those sugar levels in your body than it is to let them plummet and then to try and build them back up again. So
fueling every 30 minutes you think is a good strategy?
Yeah, I mean, everyone's going to be different. I think nutrition 100%. Is so personalised. Yeah. Like, what works for me doesn't work for a lot of my friends. But for me, it's definitely every 30 minutes. That just keeps the metabolism going.
100%.
Yeah.
Okay, and so what you said, ginger is good for seasickness?
Yeah, I mean, marginal gains, but
that's good to know. Honestly, I'm taking notes because you never know what conditions you can have on race day. For real.
That's true,
I think sometimes you have quite crazy conditions out there, so hopefully not. I would be that could be the worst that can happen, honestly. So you're doing long distance. Yes. As you said, you're preparing for the English Channel.
Yes.
And then you
still feels funny to say, but yeah, we are.
That's okay. Yeah. Yes, you are. And then for people that know Sydney a little bit, she also swam Palm Beach to Manly, which I think it's nearly 30k something.
Yeah, I think it's like 26 or something.
That's insane. 26k. It's insane. And then you did Gibraltar Strait.
Yeah, that was good fun too.
How many k was that?
Gibraltar's about 16. 16? I think. So yeah, that's from Spain across to Morocco. Really beautiful swim.
It's a lot of currents or?
Really strong currents. You've got the Atlantic going into the Mediterranean, so you get a really, really strong sweep across to the side. So it was one where we had to really keep our head down, keep swimming, couldn't stop too long. I did get pretty seasick on that swim, but
how do you manage the mental challenge when you're doing I feel like even when you're used to swim, you can get in the situation where it's getting strong out there, and you can feel a little bit like what's happening.
Yeah, I mean, there's so many different tactics for it. I think for me, like, I tend to just try and relax and, you know, not try and think about too much, like almost get into a meditative type state. But then, of course, you do have, you know, the clouds pop into your head every now and again. So I think in those times, it's really about thinking about your reason why. Like, you know, why are you doing this? What's your goal? What's your motivation? And if you're really like honest with yourself in your training, you sort of come to realize what that reason why is. So when you're, you know, there on event day or you're doing a race, you can kind of bring that back as your motivation to really push on. I think that's a huge part of it. But yeah, otherwise just getting a really good song in your head is like...
Yeah. just sing the song.
Just like... just to try and get the energy back up.
Do you like... Are you like someone naturally like anxious or easily stressed, or?
I definitely get anxious. I think the week before Palm to Shelley, I was so nervous, and we actually had some pretty bad weather come through the week before. So the ocean was looking really rough. There'd been a lot of rain, so the lagoons all had, you know, some polluted water coming out. And I was thinking, oh no, like, am I going to be able to do this? Because it's a little bit colder, it's rougher, what's going to happen? But I think part of it is just knowing that that's natural and that happens to everybody. So, you know, just accepting that, you know, it's part of the process. Talking to people around you, because they're probably feeling the same thing, is a big part of it. And I think there's a point too that you can think too much about it as well. So, you know, thinking about what are the things that you can control, what are the things you can't control. And, you know, if you're controlling all the things you can control, like your training program in the lead up, making sure that, you know, you're organised and you've got things ready to go. And then anything else that's beyond your control, like if that's the weather or anything else, then, you know, you can't really worry about it because there's nothing you can really do about it anyway.
So true. No, yeah. That's so true. Work on the things you can control, and then just trust the process.
That's it.
It's gonna work out. Okay, so with all this training, I feel like it's really important to have like a proper recovery day, like a day where you rest. Or how do you manage to like recover and know that you're not overtraining? And
yeah, no, it's so important. So in our training program, we have 2 rest days a week. So for me, that's Thursday and Sunday. And it's, you know, when you love what you're doing and you love your sport, it's really tempting to try and, you know, to train on those days.
100%.
But in the end, that just leads you to, I guess, getting really exhausted and not being able to put in as well when it actually comes to your actual training sessions. And also just more risk of injury as well. 100%. So
that's what we were saying, that
yeah,
when you're really starting to have a big load and you're training for a big race, whatever the sport, it's really hard to find this balance where you're not like injuring yourself, because you're constantly walking like on the edge of the cliff.
Yeah, and sort of pushing your limits, but you don't want to go over it. Just like, to the limit.
It's a hard balance to find, because
yeah,
as we said, well, like it's hard to know, is it my mind that's starting to give up on me, or is it actually the body that says I need to rest and I need a break?
Pushing? Yeah, and finding that, you know, am I being lazy, or am I actually need to listen to my body and rest here? And I'm a big believer in it is important to listen to your body.
It's really important.
And if you're feeling really, really exhausted, or you're starting to feel like too much pain or unwell, then I think resting is so important. But also doing active recovery as well as just resting. So that might be going for a walk, or doing some yoga and stretching, or it could be
stretch, guys.
Maybe yoga classes. That kind of stuff too. Huge role in it. But also nutrition, so making sure that you're having, you know, all the right nutrients to fuel your body so that you can recover quickly. My coach actually said once that, you know, if you do your nutrition correctly during your training swim or your long swim, your recovery will be so much better from it, because you won't be having to recover from that big dip. So
yeah, that's interesting.
Yeah.
I guess when we talk nutrition, there is like the fueling during the race or during the training, but there's also all the nutrition, like how do you eat in your day-to-day life. Yeah, and that matters a lot too, like getting the right nutrients so your body is not. What is that? Oh, it's okay. And then like 30K a week, you said, like how do you balance that with work? Like I feel like for a lot of people that prepare Ironmans, or like even you when you're like training for like a long distance swim, how do you manage to like find this balance between like work and training? It's
Yeah, it is a
so
lot.
much.
I think, and the other things in life are still important. I think that's the first thing to recognise is that, your sport is great, but you still have friends, you still have family, you still have your social life, you still have your work, of course, and making sure you value those things equally, I think is a really big part of it. So I think really it's about setting up a routine, and a routine that you can maintain without burning yourself out. So for me, I usually wake up at 4:45 in the morning, do my training in the morning. I have a good coffee with my teammates after training, and that's a big part of the social aspect of it. But then I work full time after that, so it is definitely a juggle. I think trying to find ways that you can coordinate things in is really important, but it does help when your friends have similar hobbies and things as well, so you can share the training and things together. But I think the main thing is just making sure you still make time for the other things in your life as well.
Okay, I feel like
I don't know if that answers the question.
no, it's so good. I think it's the hardest. It's one of the hardest part when you start to really train more and like just how to find this balance to start with.
Yeah.
Like in the first weeks and months of your training, it's really easy to, because you're tired from training, and it's really easy to kind of neglect one area of your life, and it's like good to know how others are also balancing that.
It's hard. It's a juggling act.
I know. And then I have just one more question for you, which is, how long do you reckon you need to train for a 5K ocean swim if you've done half Ironman, which is 1.9 kilometer swim in fresh water, so in a lake?
Okay. I think it really depends on the individual and I guess what their baseline is, and what their goal is for their 5K as well. Like if the goal is just to survive it, or whether it's to to feel strong and to compete as such in it. I think so really individual to them, but I think the main thing is, as we were chatting about before, is if they can step up from that 1.9 to the 5, is really about just relaxing into the water and feeling comfortable, and not trying to sprint the whole 5K, and not try to do that same
being able to pace yourself.
Yeah, I think pacing themselves. Obviously having done the half Ironman, they'll have that endurance training, but I think just relaxing into it, enjoying it, making sure that their technique stays strong is probably the key there.
And also, I think switching from fresh water to salt water.
Yeah.
Do you reckon what could change?
Well,
I think you could add the salt water could play in your favor if it's a good day, if you have a good weather out there.
100%, because the salt water is more buoyant, right?
Yeah.
So you're going to float better in the water, your body's going to be in a better position, your legs won't be sinking as much. So generally salt water is faster, but it depends on the course. You could have really choppy conditions and swimming into a current or a wind, or you could have them in your favour. So it really depends. But no, I think if you like swimming, you love swimming, I think definitely have a go at the 5. That's exciting.
Okay, thank you so much, Christine, for your time. One last word, something you would like people to know, something like a tips or whatever for their training, for our training.
Something our coach always says to us is to smile and be happy. So I think just enjoy the process, don't focus too much on the end goal. Just love every training session that you go to, make the most of the whole journey.
Be present. The race is just
it's just the icing on the cake.
Exactly.
It's
the training is the thing.
Yeah.
I love that. Thank you so much, Christine.
Thanks
for your time. Thank you so much, guys, for watching. I will drop Christine's Instagram in the link, so you can have a look at what she's doing, because she is planning this amazing English Channel trip, and it's going to be really exciting. I hope you're going to share a lot of it.
Yeah, maybe.
And maybe I can also put your coach Instagram in the link too.
Do that.
Because if you're in Sydney and you need a swimming coach, maybe we can also just drop this in the link.
Awesome.
Just down there.
Sounds good.
Thank you guys for watching.
Guys.